let's look at question number 4. It says, for n is greater than or equal to 3 be a positive integer. Find the largest number Tn as a function of n. This is important. Find the largest number Tn as of for which this inequality holds true. What is this inequality? Maximum of mod a1 plus a2 mod a2 plus a3 dot 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 an minus 1 plus an and mod an plus 1 is greater than Tn times maximum of mod a1 mod a2 mod a3 mod an. How would you attempt this question? For that matter, anybody who starts this question for the first time would first write it for n is equal to 3, a1, a2, a3, then for 4, then for 5, then for 6, then understand what is happening and then proceed. And this initial observation leads to a conclusion that the problem has to be solved case wise. So let me say take case 1 when n is even. Remember, it has to be true for every set of real numbers. So since it is always supposed to be true for all set of real numbers, here we take these numbers as x minus x, x minus x, because it's only mentioned real numbers, nothing positive or negative. So if I take all the a1, a2, a3 dot 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 an as alternately plus minus x, your left hand side eventually becomes 0. Irrespective of maximum, every value is 0, so 0 is 0 is 0, should be greater than Tn times max of this is definitely x modulus of x, and which implies for the equality to hold Tn has to be 0. Whenever an inequality and modulus, if one of the sides can be attained to be 0 as a trivial solution, then the work is done. So trivial solution indicates that it has to be 0, nothing better than that can, there is nothing bigger than that can happen. The question actually is meant for case 2, when n is odd. Now in this case, we cannot mention the same thing because we don't know the number of pairs, and of course one value will remain at the end. So this time we change the gear of problem solving and we start bashing it with something different without loss of generality. Let me assume that a1 is x and max among mod a1 plus a2, mod a2 plus a3, mod an plus a1 is m. So technically, if you look at it, mod a1 plus a2 is less than equal to m, isn't it? Because this is the first conclusion that we have drawn, that maximum value is n. So any of these values would be less than 1. But since we have already taken a1 to be x, x we had taken in the initial frame, let me call it as lambda. So lambda plus a2 would lie between minus m and m, which means a2 lies between minus m minus lambda and m minus lambda. Subsequently, mod a2 plus a3 should also be less than equal to m, because m is the maximum. So it has to be bigger than any other value in it. So that means a2 plus a3 should belong to minus m to m, but we already have an inequality of a2. It's just that a2 will not give me a3, so I do a small tweak. I use minus a2, that means I multiply a minus sign in this particular inequality, and I realize this becomes lambda minus m to lambda plus m. And then once this happens, if you add these two, you realize A3 lies between lambda plus 2m as the max value and lambda minus 2m on the other side. Continue doing this. Next would be mod A3 plus A4 is less than equal to m, and this way we will get A4 lies between lambda minus 3m to lambda plus 3m and so on dot 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 an. We realize all those values are there. Now once all those values are there, we get a fantastic inequality which gives me a result directly or indirectly. I hope you are getting the crux of this. I'll just squeeze this so you can see all that in one frame. Yes. So once we reach this number and do a bit of inductive reasoning here again, we realize that my value, I'll wait for a minute for you to ponder on this, that if this goes on this way, I consecutively doing this, I realize that the value is now coming out to be that m and lambda has a relation in n, and I realize that modulus of lambda is less than equal to nm by 2. This you conclude from this. Nothing has to be done. Write for 4, 5, 6 and then proceed, and then you realize that when n is even it is a different case, and when n is odd it's a different case, but you are taking the case which is n is odd, so you conclude to a result, and this gives me Tn has a maximum value by n. So we have case wise answer. Tn is 0 if n is even, and Tn is 2 by n if this is odd. For those who have done the initial working for 3, they would realize that it comes out to be 2 by 3, but for 5 it is 2 by 5, and nothing more than that can happen. I just am skipping this calculation because this is pretty easy to do. All you have to do, write few equations and then realize that this comes directly with inductive reasoning.